There's a shift taking place that is the most significant and the most important shift in the collective consciousness that's almost ever been. And people haven't really recognized that yet. And that is, it's the shift from a purely objective approach to the subjective approach. In other words, in the past, governments and people, they look to results before cause. Well, cause is subjective. Why you're going to do something is subjective. So you look at that. For instance, in the past, if we wanted peace, we thought objectively drop bombs to get peace. Well, that's idiotic. If you want peace, what do? First, you think, well, I have to do the loving thing, which is build hospitals, schools, feed the poor, and then you'll have peace. And so this is a shift that's taking place in the whole world. And if we want to get theological, we could go back to the teachings of the Master, who said, seek ye first the kingdom of God. Seek ye first the subjective, and then figure out how to objectify it. And this is fancy words, but it's very practical. So I think we're entering a day now of what might be called practical mysticism. Mysticism is the belief that you are that presence. There's no force outside of yourself. You create out of your own creative consciousness. That's the mystical approach. And we're finding out that it's very practical. Now, put in common, ordinary terms, it is this: self-fulfilling prophecy. That's what it's all about. And what you are prophesying in your head, you create. And so we've got to be very aware of where we let our beliefs go. And that's why I say that a woman told me that she only listens to the news once in the morning. And that's a good thing in the respect that if we hear it over and over and over, negative things, we might begin to believe it and prophesy it, and that means we'd create it. So we've got a responsibility today to watch out where we're letting our creative consciousness, self-fulfilling prophecy go. You know, once we know that life is self-fulfilling prophecy, then we can figure out, all right, what is the quality of my prophesying? Where is it coming from? And if we realize that we have to have a new morality, a new direction, and that direction is, if it is loving, it's moral. If it's not loving, it's immoral. And so we can judge each act before we do it. Is this a loving way to do it, or is it not? And that's our own choice, and it's how we create our own lives. But the trick is, we get back what we put out. And if we put out lovingness, that's what we get. We can't have anything, we can't get anything we don't already have. And so if we want friendship, if we want companionship, if we want supply, if we want to get, well, we better start giving, because it's our giving that returns to us as the supply, as the friendship, as the love. You know, it's that simple. It sounds very sort of highfalutin or religious, but it's not. It's very simple. Everybody knows what spirit they're in. And the other thing is, we're not always in the loving spirit. And we know when we're not, and so we can not act. We cannot make any decisions until we get ourselves back into the right spirit. Because, you know, we may be a half a dozen people in one day's time, because we're in a half a dozen different moods. And we can recognize those and get quiet and go meditate or whatever you do to get ourselves back to our higher selves. Because you know, you're you and I'm me, but in one place we're the same. We both have higher consciousness within us. And that's just one, because that's in everybody. And we can all tune into that if we so choose.